Have you ever wondered how much a tad of gunpowder is? That's a tad. See that? And if anyone ever asks you how much a dash of gunpowder is, there you go. That's a dash. If you ever wanted to know how much a pinch of gunpowder is, there it is. It's a pinch. How much is a smidgen? There's a smidgen. And then finally, how much is a drop of gunpowder? There's a drop. So eat your heart out, Lee. There's a new game in town when it comes to dippers. But seriously, shooters and reloaders out there, what my wife got me that has some usefulness to it is this AWS Milligram scale, digital scale. And it's used for things like precious stones by jewelers, and it's used by pharmacists for measuring milligrams of powders and this kind of thing. It measures in troy ounces and grams and carat weight and grains. It can also be set to weigh in penny weights. So if you're going to do work with precious metals, there you go. So it's useful for us as reloaders and shooters also. The capacity of this in grains is about 300 grains. So it's very useful for measuring most bullets and all powder charges that we will be dealing with. So let's look at this a little closer. So I'll go ahead and turn it on and open up the little cover. And like all of these scales, we calibrate it. So to calibrate it, and I don't know, can you see that little, there you go. So it's reading 000 grains right now. So it actually measures to the 100th of a grain. And that's a lot more accuracy than we have in our scales, which go to a 1/10 of a grain. This goes to a 100th of a grain. So to calibrate it, you press the on button again, and it'll read calibrate, C-A-L. Now if you press it again, hold it down, it'll ask for the 10 gram weight. So you put the 10 gram weight in there, and then it'll measure the 10. It's calibrating the 10 now. Now it's asking for 20 grams. So we put the other 10 gram on top, and then now it's calibrating to 20. And when it's done calibrating, it'll say pass. And so it just did that. So now it's calibrated. Now, if it's not reading 0, we can tear it to 0. And now this can be used to measure. So let's ask it to weigh a bullet. Happens to be a 147 grain bullet. And there it is, 147.68. Let's do that again. We'll put the bullet right there. 147.6.7. This scale is very sensitive to air flow, air currents. And if it's measuring to the 100th of a grain, you would think it might be that sensitive. Let's do it a third time, and all it takes is maybe a few kernels of dust or perspiration or oil, and it'll measure something different. 147.66, the same as the first measurement. So it's pretty consistent. So there you see our RCBS 510 scale in the background, and we're going to go ahead and take a dash of gunpowder. We're going to take a dash of gunpowder and put it in that pan. And let's see what the weight on that is. Now I'll go ahead and adjust that off camera. Well, according to the RCBS 510 scale, that is a 7.5 grain charge. And according to the Hornady, it's a 7.5 grain charge. So on the AWS, what I did was I teared it out in a cartridge case, and the charge weighs 7.54. 56. 54. So you see, they all three agree, and should be pretty happy with that. But This seems to be a lot more sensitive a scale for our needs, and I'll use this as a check, a third opinion check against the other two. But it won't be my frontline scale because it just has a lot more sensitivity than we really need for using powder. But there you see, 7.5. Well, who knows? I might just work with this a little more, but there really isn't any need for a scale this small for our use. Now, it turns out that AWS is a company in Georgia, and they bring in about 100 different kinds of weighing scale type instruments, most of them from China. And you'll notice that a lot of these check weights have a similar appearance to them. This scale is available from Amazon at the budget price of $26, and as such it competes with a lot of the other price range scales that we have for reloading from Frankfurt Arsenal and Hornady, this kind of thing. But the reviews on this scale have been all over the place. I find that it's a little bit more sensitive than we need. We don't have powder charges that are listed to the hundredth of a grain, and the little pan there is so small it's hard to dump powder into that pan and not have it splash all over the place. So you gotta use a cartridge case to tear it out. In all things, there's a give and take, and so this small size makes this scale very easily portable. And battery operated like it is makes it even more so. Who knows, there may come times that I'll find this to be very handy to have. But as of right now, I can't recommend this to all of you out there because it's just not as useful. But to be fair, AWS, that's American Way Systems. AWS probably has other scales that are actually more conducive for use by reloaders. Take care. Bye for now.